What if you woke up tomorrow and the sun was still there? Not visually, not in any way you could see, but gravitationally, mathematically, in every equation that governs the orbit of every planet in the solar system, the mass was identical. The pull was identical. The geometry of space around it was identical. You would have no way of knowing anything had changed, not until you looked up and saw nothing. A black hole with the mass of our sun would be roughly 6 kilometers across. You could drive past it on a highway in under 4 minutes and never know what you were looking at. The sun, by comparison, spans 1.4 million kilometers. If the sun were a basketball, a solar mass black hole would be smaller than a grain of sand sitting at the center of it. Same mass, a fraction of a percent of the size. And instead of flooding 8 light minutes of space with heat and light, it would sit there, invisible, pulling on everything and giving back nothing. Earth would not spiral in. Earth would not fly away. Earth would continue tracing the same elliptical path it has followed for 4.5 billion years. The physics would be unchanged. Everything else would not. The question is not whether we survive the gravitational swap. We do for a few hours. The question is what those hours look like and what comes after them that makes hours irrelevant. Within 8 minutes of the swap, the last photon the sun ever sent us would arrive at Earth's surface. Light travels at 299,792 kilometers per second. The distance from the sun to Earth is about 150 million kilometers. That is 8 minutes and 20 seconds of travel time, exactly the gap between what is real out there and what we can see from here. For 8 minutes and 20 seconds after the sun disappears, we would have no idea it was gone. The sky would be blue. The light through every window would be normal. Every solar panel on the planet would be generating power at its usual rate. Then the light would stop. Not dim, not fade. Stop. The way a switch goes off. At the moment of cutoff, it would be the middle of the day somewhere on Earth. For half the planet, the sky would go from full daylight to absolute darkness in an instant. Not the darkness of a cloudy night. Not the darkness of a power outage. The darkness of a universe with no nearby star. The kind of darkness the human eye has no biological experience of processing. On the other side of the planet, the half already in nighttime would notice nothing for hours. But both halves would share the same fate. The mechanism is just slower for one of them. Heat is the first thing to go, and it goes faster than most people imagine. Earth's atmosphere holds warmth the way a blanket holds warmth around a sleeping body. When the heat source disappears, the insulation does not immediately fail. For the first week, surface temperatures would drop by roughly 17 degrees Celsius on average. That is not survivable everywhere, but it is not the end. Coastal cities would fare better, inland regions at altitude would not. The polar zones, already at temperatures below what most human infrastructure is designed for, would begin their final collapse almost immediately. By the end of the first year, the average global surface temperature would be around -73 degrees Celsius. To hold that number in your body rather than just read it, the coldest naturally recorded temperature in human history was at the Soviet Vostok Station in Antarctica in 1983, at -89 degrees Celsius. That temperature exists right now in one location on the coldest continent on Earth, and it can kill an exposed human being in under 2 minutes. -73 degrees would be the global average. Everywhere. Simultaneously. With the warmest places on Earth sitting only a few degrees above that. The oceans would be the last thing to freeze. Water holds thermal energy differently than land. The top layers would ice over within weeks, but the depths, insulated by the pressure and the mass of water above them, would stay liquid for thousands of years. The deep ocean floor, warmed by geothermal vents driven by the heat inside the Earth itself, would retain pockets of liquid water almost indefinitely. That detail matters more than it seems. Life on Earth did not begin at the surface. The oldest evidence of life on this planet comes from hydrothermal vent systems at the ocean floor, where no sunlight has ever reached. The chemistry that drives those vents does not require the sun. It requires the decay of radioactive elements inside the Earth, a process that began 4.5 billion years ago, and will continue for billions more, regardless of what sits at the center of this solar system. Whatever survives the first century after the swap would not survive at the surface. But something might survive in the dark, pressurized water above those vents. Microbial life, tube worms, chemosynthetic ecosystems that have never seen sunlight and do not need it. The sun's disappearance would not end life on Earth. It would reduce it to the version of life that was here before the sun ever mattered. That is a different kind of extinction than most people picture. If you follow this channel, you already know that the most interesting questions are never the ones that sound dramatic. They are the ones that stay with you 2 days later. The ones where the real answer is buried under 3 layers of things that seem like the answer. Subscribe if you have not. This is the kind of content this channel is built around. Slow, careful, accurate, and unwilling to stop at the obvious version. There are people here for exactly this. Come be one of them. Now, the black hole itself. A solar mass black hole radiates. Not light, not heat in any useful sense. Something called Hawking radiation, a phenomenon first described by Stephen Hawking in a 1974 paper in the journal Nature, which remains one of the most consequential papers in the history of theoretical physics. The principle is this. At the event horizon of a black hole, quantum effects cause the black hole to emit a faint thermal radiation. The black hole slowly loses mass. It evaporates. The rate depends on mass. A solar mass black hole radiates at a temperature of approximately 60 nanokelvin. That is 60 billionths of a degree above absolute zero. The cosmic microwave background radiation, the leftover heat from the Big Bang that fills all of space, sits at about 2.7 Kelvin. It is 45 million times hotter than the Hawking radiation from a solar mass black hole, which means the black hole is not losing mass. It is gaining it, absorbing background radiation faster than it emits anything. It will not evaporate on any timescale that matters to anything alive. But there is another source of energy nobody initially thinks of when they run this scenario: the interstellar medium. Space is not empty. Between the stars, there are gas clouds, dust particles, charged particles streaming from distant sources. A black hole moving through that medium accretes material. As matter falls toward the event horizon, it forms what is called an accretion disk, a flat, rotating structure of superheated gas that can outshine entire galaxies. Quasars, the brightest sustained objects in the known universe, are black holes with accretion disks at the centers of galaxies. They emit more energy than 1 trillion suns. A solar mass black hole sitting where the sun was would have access to the solar wind's remnants, to any interplanetary dust still in the system, to the slow infall of material from the outer solar system. If enough material accumulated, it would begin to glow. Not like a star. Brighter in the high energy spectrum, X-rays, gamma radiation, the kind of radiation that ionizes the atmosphere of every planet it touches. This is the scenario that makes every other problem irrelevant. A black hole accreting material at even a modest rate would flood the inner solar system with radiation that no magnetic field, no atmosphere, no depth of ocean is sufficient to block indefinitely. The Earth has survived solar flares and geomagnetic storms. It has never survived a sustained gamma-ray source at a distance of 150 million kilometers. No object in this solar system is built for that. We tend to picture the replacement of the sun with a black hole as a cold, dark ending. Light off, freeze. That is the clean version. The real version has a second act where the cold and dark are replaced by something harder to survive than either. The Earth would not spiral in, but under sustained radiation bombardment, the atmosphere would. Charged particles strip away atmospheric molecules over time. Mars lost most of its atmosphere this way when its magnetic field weakened. Earth's magnetic field is stronger, but it is not infinite protection, and nothing about this scenario is designed with survival in mind. Within 10,000 years, depending on accretion rate, the atmosphere would be thin enough that even the deep ocean vents would be exposed to a fundamentally changed chemistry at the surface. The planet would still be here, orbiting, silent, the black hole pulling on it across 150 million kilometers, as reliable as the sun ever was. The mass unchanged. The orbit unchanged. The planet intact and utterly dead, circling in the dark around something that gives back nothing. 8 minutes of normal sky. Then this. That is the answer. If this one stayed with you, press like. And here is the question. If you had those 8 minutes of normal daylight after the swap, knowing what was coming, what would you actually do with them?